The marketing psychologist will see you now. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. This is where ordinary entrepreneurs come for inspiration and education to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes until the job gets done. Look, when I made the leap from corporate America to running my own business, I had a wife, 5 kids, a mortgage, and they all wanted to eat and sleep in warm beds. I didn't have the luxury of hitting rock bottom while I found myself on my buddy's couch or in somebody's basement or going back home. Oh no. I had to put food on the table, a lot of food on the table, every single day, every week, every month. This is the no hype, cut to the chase material, ideas, and training I wish I had when I started down my entrepreneurial journey. This is one of the premier sales, marketing, and entrepreneurial programs available, and it's free. Make sure to stay up to date on everything I'm working on, along with additional content I don't have time to share on the podcast, by signing up for the Weekly Whisper at weeklywhisper.com. If you're curious about where to start when it comes to taking control of your sales and marketing is just selling in print, you can get my sales agenda to use in your everyday sales life at thesalesagenda.com. Finally, get the on-demand help you need to grow your sales at 30daysalesgrowth.com. Enter the promo code podcast to save a few bucks on your order. If you have any questions on ways I might be able to help you here with my team at The Sales Whisperer, feel free to email me, wes@thesaleswhisperer.com. That is my actual email address. Now on to the show. Dr. Rachna Jain, author of Internet Marketing for the Rest of Us. Welcome to the Sales Podcast. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me.
So thanks for carving out some time, despite our little technical difficulties. You know, I would say I needed a minute to go get pretty, but I probably needed more time than that. So we're just going to roll with it, all right?
Sounds good.
So for those of us that may not know your whole story, would you mind telling us in a minute or two kind of what makes you tick and who you are, and then we'll dive down the rabbit hole?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a psychologist by training. I've been working online for the past 14 years. I've built 3 businesses from the internet. I'm the author of 5 books. And in my spare time, I'm really into digital photography and silversmithing.
Silversmithing.
Yes.
Okay. Stop the presses. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I actually started it in February, and it's been really fantastic. I put up some of my pieces just on Facebook to show people, and then people started buying them. So I decided, I was kind of like, whoa, didn't expect that. So I set up a small studio in my home, and that literally just got finished a couple weeks ago. And then I've gone into production. So I've been making silver bangles, silver earrings, and silver rings like a mad person.
So I love how you just kind of rattle this off. Oh, I got a PhD. I wrote 5 books. I've got 3 businesses, and I've got spare time.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Very nice. So you're one of those people like that just never sleeps, right?
Yeah, I don't need a lot of sleep. And my bad habit is that I tend to run. And then there's this point where I just hit the wall and I conk out, and then I conk out for, a period of time. And so everyone has to kind of get used to that when they're in my life a little bit. So.
That's cool. I've been doing a lot of reading lately and retooling my own business. And it's interesting how very successful people, they don't have balance.
Right.
The guys, they talk about being a fanatic, right? Being a fan. And you see it in sports. It's okay to be totally imbalanced in sports, right? I mean, and I'll pick on men because we're easy to pick on, but, you'll see guys, tailgating, and they wear the jerseys and they got the flags on their car, and they are dialed in for 6 months, right?
Yes,
From the draft, really, 9 months. I mean, looking at the draft, looking at preseason, they're looking, postseason, blah, blah. But when it comes to business, they're like, oh, you should have this balance. But, hopefully you're into something, right? And you like what you do, and you don't really want balance, right? You want to dive in, master it, produce something dramatic. Okay, then conk out, right? Take a little nap, take a week off, take a month off, whatever, recharge the batteries and do it again.
Exactly. Because I think that really what it is that, it's very difficult if you are engaged and interested. It's really difficult to turn that off and say, oh, I'm only going to be engaged and interested between these hours because I have to go have balance. I think the way that I look at balance is across my life, I have balance, but probably in any particular week or moment, I'm not necessarily super balanced. It's sort of
Right.
what you're describing there.
Yeah. So maybe over the span of time, right, over the course of a year or maybe 5 years, it has balanced out. But maybe there was a 3 month or 6 month stretch where you're kind of extreme in one area or the other.
And you absolutely have to be, especially if your business is new and you're trying to get it off the ground or you're trying to take it to a new level of growth. That has to be your all-encompassing focus, And then in the times where things are running a little bit better or things are a little calmer, or you've reached an income goal, I think then you can kind of ease off the gas a little bit and take some time to do other things.
So, as a psychologist, I am going to guess that you are trained and certified to answer this question. So, no pressure. We'll just end the conversation if it's the wrong answer.
Okay.
But I've always said I think people are more afraid of success than failure. And maybe that's why they pull back and that's why they don't achieve their goals. Would you agree with that?
Actually, I would disagree with that.
Oh, delete. Where's my?
Okay, well,
I don't have all my sound.
It was nice talking to you, Wes.
Okay, tell me what.
So this is the thing that I think that people are more afraid of failure than success because they feel like they can't handle failure, where they think they could have some basic grasp of success. So I think that the reason people are more afraid of failure is because they feel like they'd be devastated, that they can bounce back, that they'd be completely rejected, and all the things that kind of kick off our survival instincts. And I think the fear of success, it's actually kind of like a first world problem. Like you can only be afraid of success after you've had a little bit of success. And then you kind of start to do this mind trick thing where you trick yourself out saying, it's not going to last. And then you become afraid of doing anything more. So I actually think fear of failure is more powerful than fear of success.
Okay, I'm going to argue with you. You ready?
Okay.
What about people we hear that win the lottery and they go bankrupt? Now maybe that's not a true success, right? Because they just won it, they didn't earn it, it fell in their lap. But I mean, I see that kind of as an example of somebody not ready for success, or at least not monetary success. Does that apply, or is that kind of apples and oranges?
Yeah, I would see it as a little bit different. I would see it as that person doesn't have the skill set to maintain the success that they've achieved, right? And we've all had that happen. We've all had it where we get like a lucky break, or we suddenly get really elevated into something that we were not ready for. And so it is very difficult to sustain. It reminds me of there was a time where I was invited to be on NBC's Today Show. And they came to my office and they interviewed me for it. And it was one of those things, Wes, where it wasn't anything I had prepared for. I didn't know anything about it. And the timeline was so short. Like they told me on Tuesday and they were coming to meet me on Friday. And I wasn't ready for it, and I was more afraid of failing because I didn't have the skill set to do that than I was feeling successful that, I had achieved this particular level. So I think that in a case of somebody who has won the lottery, right, they've suddenly been really elevated in their financial status and they just don't have the foundation upon which to rest that. So I don't see it as exactly the same, but I definitely get your point that people can't hold on to success that they don't have foundation for.
Right. Because, you talk about lucky breaks, the old adage, I mean, luck is when, or success is when.
Yeah.
Preparation
meets opportunity.
There we go. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity. But history is full of stories of people with quote unquote lucky breaks. Mm-hmm. And people aren't ready for it. I don't know. I see both sides of this. People are afraid of failure, and I think that gets beaten into our heads in school, right? It's where they're not really taught or encouraged to push the boundaries and explore. It's just 2 plus 2 is what? Tell me now. What country is north of America? Tell me now. Wrong answer. You fail. Go stand in the corner. No recess for you. And then it just kind of gets beaten out of us to be curious anymore. Right, and then it's just, I can't fail because it'll remind me of 7th grade when I missed a spelling bee and I let my parents down. So we're afraid of failure. We're afraid of success. How does anybody succeed?
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think that your example is a really good one, because I think it also hints at this idea that fear of rejection, I believe, is one of like the biggest drivers of why we do things or why we don't do things. And so it's that thing about not knowing the answer, but it's also about looking stupid to other people or looking, right, not as skilled. And I think that's a huge reason that people don't actually, take the steps forward that they need to take, because they spend a lot of time worried about what other people might say or think if it doesn't work out.
Right. So how does somebody go from a PhD in psychology to building businesses online? And I won't even get into silversmithing. All right, we're just going to leave that for another interview.
Out of there for
you
another
can't
day.
drop that bomb on me.
So,
just bam. Like NBC. I wasn't ready. Take it back.
Exactly. I'd like to say that one goes from psychology PhD to online business very carefully, but that would be a lie based on what I'm about to tell you. So I actually got online when the internet first started. Basically, it was in '98, and I had just gotten my degree. I put up a really ugly one-page website for my psychology business, and I used the internet at that point to get clients from the internet.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. And then I had a lot of problems with managed care. So there were these months where I would work more than full time, and I would have to take cash advances against my credit card to be able to pay my office rent and everything. Mm-hmm. And there was a point where I was pulling money out of the ATM, and I thought, why am I working so hard if I'm just going to live off my credit cards anyway? Like, why am I doing this? So I started a coaching business, which I also grew from the internet. I'm an expert in search engine optimization, so I used that to build my client base in that business. And then about that time, people started saying, I want to know how to get clients from the internet. And I said, oh, well, you do this and you do this and you do this. They said, no, I don't want to learn it from you. I want you to do it for me.
Okay.
So that's how we made. Yeah.
You're blowing my brain out.
Why?
Do you see the smoke coming out of my head?
Actually, I do.
I got to turn the fan on, open the window. Smoke alarm is about to go off. So here you get a doctorate in psychology, and you're an SEO expert. What?
Well,
how do you juggle all of this?
Very carefully. Yeah, it's just it's the kind of thing, though, Wes. I would say that it does sound a little bit random, perhaps, and it does sound a little bit, odd, but everything has made sense to me at the time that I've done it. And then after a while, you do anything long enough, you start to accrue experiences in all of those areas. And so, so I taught myself SEO, and then I started to get clients from it. And then, I've been able to move it into a whole business of getting clients for other people. So,
well, I love, you kind of just glossed over this, but this is so important. I see it all the time where people, they get a degree or they get some type of credentials and they think, well, everybody knows I'm now the expert. Look on my wall. I have some paper and it says that I'm an expert. And
right.
People should just come to me and pay me a lot of money.
Yes.
But you realize immediately, right, that it's one thing to be credentialed and capable. It's a whole other thing for the world to know that you are credentialed and capable and to come find you. Right?
Absolutely.
And you took that on yourself and said, I've got to market myself if I want to have a business.
That's absolutely true. And the kind of the little secret in here, though, is that I was incredibly shy and I had a lot of difficulty networking. So search engine optimization was sort of the safer way to get clients at that point.
Okay.
I've been kind of, I don't want to say lucky, but I've been fortunate that it's turned into a skill that people will, hire me for.
Okay. So I got to ask you.
Yep.
Because SEO has changed over time.
Yes.
Were you doing some of the little cheesy things back in the day, like write your name and your title, like 8,700 times.
Yeah, exactly. No.
In white font on a white background, so you
Right,
could
so
pop
nobody
up
can
in
see
Alta
it.
Vista.
Yeah, and then keyword stuffing. Yeah, no, we weren't doing any of that actually. What I did a lot, even early on, before the whole thing about content marketing, is I did a lot of writing articles for online publications and doing a lot of press releases locally and things to get those links back. Because in the beginning, or not the beginning, but in the past, SEO was very, very link driven.
Sure.
That shifted now, where it's a lot more about social sharing, usability, site load speed, that kind of thing, and some about links. But yeah, at that time, it was really about building high quality links from external sources after you had your on page SEO optimized.
Okay. So let's talk about that, because that's a good little segue, because everybody is always scratching their head. What is the latest and greatest? What do I need to be doing to get ranked? And almost on a daily basis, I'm speaking to somebody that has been paying some SEO company for 18 months, and I don't really know what I'm getting for it. And,
Yes.
and I've got some good guys on my team that know this stuff inside and out. And I mean, I'm learning every day just sitting in on their calls where they break the bad news. I feel like the doctor, we have bad news, we have worse news. The bad news is you have cancer, and then the worst news is we caught it late, and you're going to die tomorrow. I mean, it's
Right.
like that's what it feels like I'm sitting in on.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, yeah, all the money you just spent, A, it didn't work, and B, they were doing some black hat stuff, so you're probably about to get delisted and get the Google slap, and
Yes.
you're going to have to spend 3 times as much for 4 times as long to recover the damage that you just, the self-inflicted gun wound you gave
Just
yourself.
did to yourself. Yeah.
And it's not their fault. They thought they were doing the right thing. They try to find somebody. So I mean, what does work today? How can people? So kind of 2-part question. What should they be doing? And if they're going to outsource, how do they know they're getting a good company?
Yeah. So what you should be doing is really the idea of being effective with SEO right now is to have relevant and targeted information on your website, to have your website kind of technically optimized in terms of site title, description, keyword phrases, areas of focus, that kind of stuff. You want to have really clean navigation. You want to avoid having too many drop-down menus that have pages that are too deep. And you also want to be mobile optimized. That's become really, really important since April. So that's kind of what you want to look for. You want to be prepared to do a lot of blogging. So all of my clients do a lot of writing and content production because that helps with SEO. And you want to do what you can to drive social sharing with your site. You want to be sure that your site loads quickly and that everything renders well, because if your site is too slow, it increases your bounce rate, which can hurt your rankings. And so there's kind of a mix of that technical, that content, that user experience, and then what you would refer to also, Wes mentioned already, the idea of letting people know about your content, know about who you are and what you do. That's kind of a quick primer for what will help with SEO these days.
Oh, but hey, Doc, I'm not a good writer. You mean I really got a blog? Oh my gosh, should I just close my doors now?
Yeah, you don't actually, I think that at that point, if you don't like writing, there's many ways to blog. You could do video blogging, audio blogging, you could do transcription. I have a bias towards doing, do something, at least get started doing something. And it's really just a marketing function, and once you have a video or you have an audio, you could have it transcribed. You could put a transcript up of that item, and that will help. That will be preferable to doing nothing. So you don't have to shut your doors, but you do have to find a way to get some content to help build your site.
Well, I always tell people it's, a business owner's number one job is to market their business.
Yes, absolutely.
And you can find someone to affordably and effectively do your books, clean your toilets, wash your car, do your laundry, but marketing your business. You may find a good firm that'll be with you for a while and do a decent job, but then they're going to be expensive, So, I mean, do you just tell them just suck it up and learn to master this?
Well, excuse me, you had a second part to the question. So when I work with my clients, many of them don't like to write or blog either. So we try, to use content that they might be creating in other ways that we then repurpose or re-leverage for their site. So if they like to speak We'll take their speaking presentations. If they create classes or courses, we'll try to take content out of there. We'll also try to maybe even have them curate content sometimes. So like go to industry or news sources and just talk a little bit about those new articles or new revelations there. So there's many ways around it. And I think that if you're going to work with a company, you're always looking obviously for the best balance of cost and results in working with somebody else. But there are a lot of providers of SEO. So you really want to look for a company that can show you results, that can show you that the results last. So one of the things I'm proudest of is that if clients continue to do the things I tell them, their results last without ongoing investment after an initial period in most cases. So I think that you're really looking for somebody who can show you results that they've created, have testimonials of clients you can speak with. Definitely will give you ranking snapshots on at least a monthly basis, help you understand where your traffic's coming from, and guide you to do things so that you can raise your profile and assist with the SEO efforts.
Right. So what is SEO nowadays? I hear about, what is it, PBNs, professional blogging networks or something?
Private blog networks. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, are those legit?
That depends. It depends who's running them. The idea behind them is actually been around for a long time. It's the idea of getting very relevant, targeted backlinks to your site. So what the PBNs allow you to do is allow you to post a short snippet of content with a keyword-rich anchor text link back to your site. And it's not actually that much different than you might be able to do if you leave a comment on somebody else's blog site, or you might be able to leave it in social media. So technically, it's not a new idea. PBNs are just the newest form of that same old process.
Right. So should people be more careful of that now, or is it still, I mean,
for the average business owner, to create and run a PBN is probably too much, especially if you're not super technical, because you have to get multiple addresses, multiple IP addresses, multiple hosting. There's a lot to it to manage it all. I think for most businesses, you could be equally effective by just doing a good job of promoting your own content online. So putting it on social media, writing articles, doing press releases, making videos, making audios, and just using all of the sort of technology aspects that you have capacity to use. And in many cases, you can have very, very good results doing that without getting super technical with like PBNs and things like that.
If you can see my video, this is my favorite. I don't need PBN, I need PBR.
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 That's right. It's very famous here in Baltimore. So everybody drinks it. So.
Oh yeah. Actually, I forgot. I just need to hold it. I feel more comfortable when I hold this.
Yeah.
When I do my interviews. So social sharing. That's a biggie nowadays, right?
Yes.
I mean, how do we get people to talk about us, to share? I mean, good grief. Sometimes it feels like pulling teeth. People they'll send a private email. Hey, that was a really great post. You saved my life. I made $7 million off that one thing you did. Have a nice life. And you're like, can you write that publicly somewhere?
Yeah. And actually, I would definitely do that. I mean, I would say, may I use that in my marketing, or could I let other people know? And how can we get that content out of that email in a way that you're comfortable with, that we could use? And sometimes I think people are a little taken aback because they told you it privately, and then you kind of turn around and you want to use it. But at the same time, if they've had results with your product or service, it's sort of a disservice not to let other people know about that, know what's possible. So definitely, I think using it that way. I also think that anything where you have really good copywriting, you have decent copywriting that creates intrigue and interest, that gets people to open and click. What I have found to work really well is kind of a mix of information and then also sharing, like authenticity, like saying, here's something that I've really struggled with, but here's how I solved it. Many times those posts, at least for me, get a lot of shares and a lot of comments.
So let them kind of look behind the drapes, look behind the curtain.
Yes, absolutely. Because essentially everybody's looking for connection and the human experience. So the more that you can say, you might be feeling this way, I felt that way too. Here's what I did to get out of it. That kind of content becomes very helpful and becomes easy for people to share.
Well, and I've seen too, people always underestimate the value of their skill set and their knowledge and their experience. So would you encourage them to kind of take a step back and drill down into what they might consider mundane and it's actually a lot more powerful than they think?
I would definitely agree with that, Wes. And then I would also have them pay attention to what other people are finding significant, right? So the thing about social media, and I was online before social media even existed. So it's been fascinating to kind of watch. You can get real-time market research about what your audience is thinking and feeling at any moment based on what they like, what they comment, what they share. And as a business owner, it's kind of invaluable because you're able to see right away how people are perceiving you and your brand. And the more on-brand things that you share, the more engagement you'll get.
Gotcha. So talk to me about, you said you've launched 3 big businesses, right? Multi-six-figure businesses.
Yes.
All around internet marketing, or were they varied type businesses?
Actually, they were varied. They've all been professional services businesses. So my first multi-six-figure business was my psychology practice.
Yep.
My second was my coaching business, and my third is my marketing company that I work in primarily now. So it's not 3 all at once. It's 3 in serial.
So you don't do any more psychology work?
I don't do psychology work anymore. I left that in about 2003 because the online marketing stuff was a lot more interesting, and it's not location dependent, and it was much more lucrative than what I was doing before.
So I hope your parents didn't spend all their money on your college education, and now they look at you and go, "What did you do with all of our money?"
Yeah, they kind of do. They kind of do that, But then they're Indian, so it's almost like a given. Like no matter what I did, they were going to end up doing that. So, yeah, we've come to kind of an understanding with it, and that they are uncertain sometimes. They're like, "Wow, you have a doctorate, and this is what you're doing," like that. But they're coming around. It's been enough time now, so.
Say, Mom, Dad, this is not a fad.
That's right.
And believe it or not, all of my training did lead to this. So,
exactly.
It's not wasted, and I'm not borrowing money from you. So it all worked out, right?
Absolutely. And the other part, subtly, Wes, absolutely. The other part that it also helps me with is I work a lot with, physicians and attorneys and different people who are also educated well. So it tends to help me work with those kinds of clients because
Sure.
There's a lot of concerns around ethics and how you present yourself and things. And I have kind of an understanding of that foundationally because I also came up in the same kind of training process. So it does help me kind of connect with the clients I work with, definitely.
Okay, well, I want you to use that psych on me, though, because I want to know who this Rorschach guy is and
The
why
Rorschach
is he always...
guy?
Yeah, and why is he always drawing pictures
like
of my parents fighting?
That's right.
Why is that?
Yeah, well, that's exactly a good question. And if we had a lot more time, I would tell you exactly all of what that meant. But you know what I tell people? This is the part that's funny. Is sometimes when people say, "Oh, you're a psychologist. I bet you have a really long report on me." And I say, "I do have a really long report on you, but I'm actually not going to give it to you until you pay me." So that's how I get around the question of what I'm actually thinking about people.
Well, I tell people I only have one problem, but it's very hard to pronounce.
Uh-oh.
That's it. That's the joke.
That's the joke.
Dang.
But
I have 2 problems, and math is one of them.
One of them.
All right. Never mind. Fine. Be that way. So you only practice 5 years. So you do all this work, and you put it in the back burner. How did that happen? I mean, was it an obvious journey, or was it? Did you take what was coming your way? Because a lot of people, they would hold on to something that, getting a doctorate. I mean, that's a lot of work. It's time, it's money, it's energy, and then you practice less than you went to school.
That's true.
Right?
Absolutely.
So a lot of people I see, they hold on to things for too long. The old story, the old monkey fist or the monkey paw. You ever see that story?
I do. Yep.
And so tell people what the monkey paw is, and then tell us how you did not let the monkey paw capture you?
I think you should tell people what the monkey paw is, and I'll tell.
Oh, I see how you are. So,
I'll tell you.
so the monkey fist or paw, whatever, that's how they capture monkeys in the wild. They'll set a trap out. It's kind of like a lobster cage. You can go in, but it's hard to get out. So the monkey can slide his hand in to grab an apple, a banana, a fruit, whatever. And so, but once he latches on, his hand is too big for the hole. And so, but he never thinks of letting go of the apple. If he lets go of the apple, he can shrink his hand again and slide it right out. But so instead he sits there, and now not only is he trapped, he screams, right? Ah, let me out, let me out, let me out. So then the hunters go, hey, we got one trapped, and they go over, bonk it in the head, and that's how they capture monkeys, because they won't let go. It is maybe the monkey knows, right? A bird in the hand is better than two in the bush. He's like, I got one in the hand.
Right, exactly, until it gets bonked on the head.
Except it gets him killed.
Right, exactly. That was so well told, Wes. That was so well told.
Well, thank you. I do my best.
Yes. So I think the thing is it definitely was not an easy transition. I mean, I think that I did have some of those same questions, like, wow, I just went to school for 25 years of my life, and now I'm only working. And the way that I sort of do things, though, is I sort of figured that if I ever missed it, I could always go back to it. Like, right. I never see things as irrevocable. So I still have a license. I could go back and practice tomorrow if I wanted, with a little bit of supervision and some polishing up. So I feel like nothing is ever really lost, and certainly I use it all the time in the marketing that I do. I use it all the time in meeting people and connecting with them. So it's really, I think, about being flexible, it's like transferable skills, right? I have a lot of transferable skills from that I use every day. So the actual specificity of using it in a particular way doesn't bother me as much.
So as you made that transition, though, did you get into practice, and was it not as rewarding as you thought, or did you just see a bigger opportunity and just went towards it?
It wasn't. Yeah, I think it wasn't. I knew I wasn't really that happy, and I didn't know what I would do next. But it was really about. I was working really, really hard. I mentioned that money was always an issue because I wasn't getting paid from the insurance companies, and it's really tough work. I mean, I have huge respect for people who practice as therapists, because it's really difficult to sit and listen to people's horrible pain, for hours and hours a day. And so I think that for me, it was really the idea of, I've always been a hard worker. I've always been really dedicated. But there was just these pieces where I never felt like I recovered from the week before right. I went in to do therapy the week after.
Right.
And I just began to question if there was some other better way to live. And so it was very much like baby steps. Like I kept saying, well, maybe there's a job where I could actually make money, on time instead of behind. And, it was just small things I was looking for at first. And then just paying attention to the things that showed up, the responses I got, where opportunities were, and then stepping into the opportunities. I think that's probably how I did it.
Would you say that everyone, and entrepreneurs in general, or especially, but everyone should maybe be more appreciative of what they have? The good old grass is greener. Because maybe did you see this great career, once you got your degrees and things would just fall into place?
Yes,
and then it kind of wasn't. But, were you maybe looking for something, or maybe society was maybe leading you astray, right? This is what success looks like, and you kind of followed that path?
I think definitely, the part that's really funny is, in retrospect, I knew I really wanted to become a psychologist, but I never actually saw myself practicing. I never actually projected forward into what I'd be doing with my degree. And then when I did work for a few years at it, I could never see a long-term future in it. And I think that was probably one of the first indications that this probably wasn't going to be the final place I landed.
Right.
But a lot of my career and a lot of things I've done have been very much about knowing I wanted something different and then looking around to see what it might be. And then when I saw something that looked good, just jumping on it and doing it. And so it's also why I, move through ideas pretty quickly. So I try out ideas, I live into them for a while, and then sometimes they don't stick. And so to other people that looks, peculiar, but, at the other time it's like, well, I'm only here to make myself happy. So that's really how I try to approach things.
Right. Do you think people are afraid to be happy? Like they don't feel worthy of being happy, so they just not convict themselves, but I mean, just set themselves down a path of almost self-destruction in a way, or at least not total fulfillment?
Yeah, I think it's really difficult, right? We all have a lot of stories and we have a lot of reasons why we can't have what we want. And it's not that I feel like I have all the answers about that, but I definitely feel like as far as we know, we only get one go round in this life. And anything you don't do today that you really wanted to, you may not have a chance tomorrow. And I don't mean that in a maudlin or any kind of way. You just may not have a chance, right? The opportunity only comes, the wheel turns. And so I think that, we are taught to value hard work. We're taught to value paying our dues. And I have questions about whether that's really the best way to move through life. And so for myself, I really have been trying to explore what are easier ways to get my goals done? How can I keep feeling more and more worthy of just having things be easy and having them turn out how I want? And that's how I work with my clients that I consult with. I try to say, well, what's your easiest pathway forward that's also going to give you the best results?
Right. Well, I always say there's two types of sales, the easy ones and those you don't get.
That's right. Exactly.
I feel like people do. And in my finite world, of sales training, it's 180 degrees out. A lot of big sales trainers, focus on the close. You got to get 5 no's, and 80% of your energy should be focused on the no, and you overcome it, and will and determination, and basically make them feel like crap and shout them down and press real hard. Third copy's yours. I'm like, why don't you spend more time on the opening?
Right.
Why don't you spend more time disqualifying prospects, so the ones that are ready bubble right up and you can focus on them. So it's like, oh wow, that was. And in some ways, it's not easy, right? You got to shift your focus, but once you master it, it becomes a lot easier.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I think that's really a good metaphor for life. It's really about disqualifying all the things that you don't want or all the things that aren't going to be a fit for you, so you can focus actually on what you really do want.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes we don't know what we want, right? But at least if you know for sure, like I grew up, my dad was just visiting, and he's been a commercial insulator his whole life. And, when I was 14, he had his own business, and I was a helper, I was cleaning up, sweeping, and hauling stuff. And as I got older, I worked bigger job sites, weekends or, summer. And he would always say, he'd say, what do you think? And I'm like, well, I know for sure what I don't want to be when I grow up.
Yes, exactly.
And he said, as long as you learn that lesson, at least you learn something, right? And so I learned how to work hard, and I learned what not to do.
Absolutely.
What I didn't want to do.
Right, absolutely. And when you have that clarity about what you don't want to do, right, it makes the choices before you a lot easier.
Right. Yeah. So, there's something to be said even for the hard times, right? At least
Definitely.
You're always learning.
That's right. Exactly.
Like they say, every person brightens a room, some when they enter and some when they leave.
Right, exactly.
So you can learn from everyone in every situation. So
yes, exactly.
All right. Very interesting. Well, I'm glad we were able to catch up despite our little technological glitch here. Where should we send people? Where do you want them finding you and following you and sharing all your valuable information and buying your books?
Yeah, so probably the easiest way, because it has all of my links to everything else, would be to just visit my website, which is profitablepopularity.com.
Cool. Very nice. And I will have that in the show notes as well. So any parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
Yeah, so the thing is that I think that if you really want something, you should go for it, because if you want it, it's actually possible for you. So don't let fear stop you, because fear is a lie.
Very nice. That will be a retweetable thingy in this post. Very nice. Well, Dr. Rachna Jain. I got it right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for coming on the show. It's been fantastic.
Thanks so much, Wes.
All right, and have a great day.
You too. Bye.
From psychology to marketing, huh? From the outside looking in, initially you think that's crazy, but in reality, I've always said marketing is just selling in print, and selling, as we know, as Zig Ziglar said, is just the transference of a feeling, and that feeling is confidence. So it's all psychology. In all of my sales training, at the core, I tell people, I'm here to help you have the confidence to continue to fight, right? While I may go over some opening lines or ways to handle objections, it's really just a short-term Band-Aid to give you a little bit of confidence, okay, so you can enter the arena. But you're never going to memorize all of them, right away. You're not going to memorize them in a stale, cold, neutral training environment. What makes them sink in is adrenaline, okay? And the adrenaline you only get from actually entering the arena of sales and marketing, picking up the phone and speaking with somebody, launching a direct mail piece or launching a new blog or a podcast or, a product launch and having it fail. Right? Doing a webinar and having it fail. Maybe even it succeeds. Either way, the adrenaline is pumping and you remember what you did. So you have to jump in with both feet, all right? But understand that all of this is psychology. Everything we do is persuasion. I had Dave Lacani on. Dave actually recommended Dr. Jain. And, we talked about what's the difference between persuasion and manipulation. And although they are close, at the end of the day, at their core, it depends on what are your motives, right? Are they pure? Are they for the good of the prospect? And so all of that, though, is part of psychology, understanding what makes people tick and then pushing their buttons, if you will, right, for lack of a better term, because that's what we're always trying to do. Get our point across, get the other person to see things from our point of view, assuming we're correct, right? Assuming that in that situation, we have what the prospect needs and we know that they need it through good diagnosis, through understanding. I always say, Steve Clark taught me, selling is a calling, serving is its purpose, questioning is a process, and a sale may be the solution. So as long as you're entering that engagement with an open mind, listening to the prospect, you come armed with a lot of questions, help the prospect come to their own conclusion, to do business with you or not, and hopefully it is, a yes. But hey, if it's not, that's fine. Let them go. Give them a referral, a recommendation to somebody that can help them to a product that best fits their needs right then. And it'll all come out in the wash, okay? So I love her story. Rachna Jain she's super smart, of course, but I really love her story of starting down a path and then changing, right? Because she was not fulfilled. She was not happy. And that was, not easy, but it was the right thing to do. And now she's fulfilled. And not only is she personally fulfilled, but she's helping others achieve their goals and live more prosperous, more stress-free, stress-reduced lives, and that's a great thing. Show feedback and guest suggestions are always welcome. Let me know what topics you'd like me to cover and any cool guys or gals you'd like me to interview. You can hit me up at wes@thesaleswhisperer.com. And if you want some affordable, live, interactive help from me and my team twice a month, check out marketingautomationnetwork.com. Even if you don't have an email or a CRM tool running yet, there is no other place on earth where you can get direct access to my team and me to answer your questions and record the answers and give you access to those sessions. You'll get access to the entire archive of sessions going back several years. So head on over to marketingautomationnetwork.com and sign up now. Remember to subscribe to the show, write me a review in iTunes, and I will love you long time. And please tell your friends, all right? The best compliment you can give is to share your feedback with a review and telling your friends about the show. And as always, remember to sell different.